Welcome to the Executive Hustle podcast, where I am your host, Kirsten Urich, speaker, author, retired CEO, mother of four, and recovering workaholic. Explore with Central Pennsylvania local executives what it takes to lead well, live well, and learn well. Understanding that leaders cannot survive, let alone thrive, without a spirit of curiosity, a discipline of accountability, and a disposition for vulnerability. Let's dive in. Welcome, Nick, CEO of the Central Penn Youth Ballet. I am so happy to have you today on the podcast. I have been looking forward to having you as a guest.
Thank you so
Certainly,
much.
certainly as we know each other a little bit, you know that as a clinician by training and a practicing executive coach, I'm often in the position of helping leaders become more aware. And as you've experienced, becoming more aware gives us choices. And with those choices comes confidence. I've also shared with you as we started here today that I have three values that influence this podcast and what I believe leaders are not successful without. And those are curiosity, vulnerability, and ownership. And for those reasons, those values, I'm so excited to have you here today because I think your story, well, I know your story links to at least one, if not all three of those values.
Thank you
So,
so much.
yeah, welcome, Nick. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored and yeah, glad to have a conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about the 7-year-old Nick, and did he always want to dance?
Oh wow, 7 years old. I got into dance through my sister,
Oh.
and I had baseball practice, and I would have to sit and wait for her to be done with her dance class until one day where I kind of walked into the middle of the studio and just said, like, we need to go, like, just do it like this. The teacher keeps on telling you what to do and you're not fixing it. Just do it like this and like, let's go. And so the teacher, while my mom was upset with me, the teacher Helen Clark. Said, no, that's okay. If you're gonna, you can tell her what to do after class, but why don't you come and take a full class? And
Ooh.
so in my kind of honorary way, I was like, fine, I can do that. How hard can this be? And it was turned out to be one of those things that it was more challenging to me than any sport I had ever played.
Mm.
Being a kid growing up in California, in Southern California, you play baseball all year, you play football, you play basketball, and ballet was the challenge. It
Mm.
didn't come easy to me. I didn't have a natural body for ballet, and so I had to work really, really hard at it. And so I became fascinated not only with ballet, but just also you have to make it look easy. You have to tell a story, and so the storytelling really is something that I really gravitated to, and just learning and figuring out how to make my body do certain things. And yeah, it just became the thing that I needed to do, not just a hobby. It became the thing I needed to pursue.
Wow. That is so fascinating. So they just laid down the gauntlet and you picked it up.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think it was more of a challenge because boys aren't
Yeah.
that popular in
Uh,
ballet. So it's like, oh,
sure.
this boy wants to give it a shot, and so
Yeah.
it created a lot of opportunities for me. It
Hmm.
created a lot of opportunities to be exposed to an art form that I didn't really know
Right.
anything about. So the more that I learned about it, the more I became fascinated with it.
That's amazing. One thing you said that I gravitate to is I have to make it look easy.
Mhm.
How does that show up today?
Um, that's a good question. How it shows up today is, I force myself to never say I'm tired. People ask me how I am, never say I'm
Mm.
tired. Even if I feel a little tired, don't say it.
Mm.
If I feel, like, oh, I'm on my 12th hour today, don't, you know, don't worry about that. You're here to work. You're doing something that you love to do. So don't announce it. You don't have to announce how busy you are. You don't have to announce, if how long your day's been. You know, do things as well as you can and do it with as
Right.
much grace as you possibly can because you never know what someone else is going through.
Mm.
Someone else always has it harder. So, just do your work, own it, and you know, keep progressing, because my own father worked. He was a vice president at Transamerica Corporation in Los Angeles, and he was vice president of underwriting and could not stand his job.
Mm.
Hated it. And so when you have that influence in your life, and he was a very good influence on me, but when you have that in your household, and you know that they're going to work early, coming home late, and they don't like it, and
Hating
it
it.
affects their person, I, that's why I continue to gravitate towards ballet and try to find a life continuously in ballet, because I love it. And
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
get to do something that fills my bucket, and
Right.
allows me to have a full heart. And I share that with my family. They see that I love what I do. And
Hmm.
so if you find what you love to do, pursue it. And some people are out there making money but miserable, and I'd rather you know continue to take charge of this legacy that has been given to all of us at CPYB, and
Right.
do it with pride.
Yeah, and you say, stick with it, do something in ballet. You didn't stay as a dancer your whole career, right? You had to make a shift to stay in ballet. Is that right?
Yes, yes. So when I was 20 years old, had finished up my first season as a professional dancer with Pacific Northwest Ballet. And what ended up happening was I got a call to be able to be a guest teacher at a place called Mid Columbia Ballet. Is the company. Tri-Cities Academy of Ballet is the school, and it was owned by Joel and Deborah Rogo. And Deborah gave me my first shot teaching, and I really enjoyed it. And so I kept on going, and she gave me more and more opportunities to teach this, or teach lower levels, and to explore the world of teaching. And by the time I would say like 24, 25, I knew that my dance career was only kind of uh, it was a springboard to something I loved even deeper, and that was teaching. Because
Mm.
the more I taught kids, I made myself aware of, oh, I do that same thing. I have that
Mm.
same problem as a dancer. Or I would say, turn and look at this way in the mirror so that you can see yourself. And I'd say, oh, I need to start standing like that in class as well. So I became a better dancer the more I studied teaching. And
Teaching.
that just blew my mind and made me really fall in love with the art form that much more. And so once I knew, teaching was going to be my path, I also quickly realized that if I wanted to be of a greater influence on, kids' success and kids' pathways in ballet, I needed to be even more than just a teacher. And I don't mean just a teacher, I mean solely a teacher.
Right.
And so I thought, well, how can I help with scholarships? How can I help with, how an organization is formed, how an organization functions? Because that's going to have an influence inside the studio and outside the studio. So I really started to explore that possibility and that opportunity.
Hmm. So you were curious about all the other aspects of the
Mhm.
business to
Yes,
see where
yeah.
you could find your niche so that you could stay in ballet.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
That's
so
yeah.
while I did that, I actually was at Pacific Northwest Ballet. I was a dancer, but I went up to our one of our artistic directors at the time, who was starting a choreographic initiative, and I knew I was never going to be a choreographer. That's just not in my like. If I ever say I'm going to ever choreograph a ballet, run, because it's not my thing.
Not gonna
So
sell out. Mhm.
right. So I went to the artistic director and I said, his name is Kent Stoll, and I went up to him and I said, I want to figure out how all of this comes together. I want to figure out, how do you market a performance? How do you bring a performance together? What happens with the crew? How much do things cost? How do you get, how does ticketing work? How does, the rental of the theater? How do you fill the theater? Programs, programming, all of those things. And so he gave me an opportunity to really just kind of be on the administrative end of that choreographic workshop.
Mm.
And knowing that that he was giving me an opportunity and how valuable it was, I threw everything into it.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
my days, all my nights, to be able to make sure that I didn't let anybody down. But I figured out a lot, and I learned a lot, and so I continued doing that for many years, to be able to make sure that I always understood how this all kind of comes together, so that I could take it and learn from it.
Yeah. So you turned that curiosity into really ownership over the entire soup to nuts of a ballet. Fast forward to today, you have been handed a legacy at
Yes,
Central Penn. What
yes.
tell us about that?
Well, I first met the founder, Marcia Dale Weary, in 2004. I was a random, guest teacher for the summer. I had met Alan Heinlein and Darla Hoover through other teaching opportunities, and they invited me. And so with that, another opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't just squander it. Really come in and know your stuff, teach well, teach your absolute best, teach at a high level, and
Make it look easy.
yeah, try to make it
Make
easy.
it look easy.
And I met Marcia, and
Yeah.
Marcia asked me after one of my classes, "Why do you do it like that?" And she was talking about a certain jump, and I obviously felt like, "Oh, I've done something wrong." And she
Mm.
said, "No, I like it. I like the way that you made them get into fifth position even faster in the air." And so I was like, "Okay, well, first few, like I'm not
Pass that test.
yeah, I'm not a random hack who just came in and is
Hmm.
messing up her summer program." And so from there, they continued to invite me each summer, and it also happened in the fall and during the year. And I quickly got to know Marcia very well, but also fell in love with the philosophy.
Hmm.
Marcy was never a professional dancer. She actually didn't receive the best training, so that prohibited her from having a career. And she started Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet with the idea of no student of mine will ever not know what true training is.
Mm.
And that just was like,
Wow, that's so
I was that
powerful.
kid. I was that kid who,
Hmm.
I didn't have a lot of turnout. I didn't have, the best feet. I had a very tight back. I had like hamstrings like guitar strings.
Hmm.
It just was, but I had to work at it. I had to figure it out. I had to understand it. I had to study it. I had to do all of those things that she did to start a school. I just had the opportunity to also figure out all of the other facets of a ballet school.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that just became the place where I was like, I need to be a part of this organization. And when she called me in 2012, uh, um, she called and offered me the position of being the school principal. And at first, Alan Heinlein, who at the time was the CEO, called me, and we had a conversation also with Marcia. And I was just like, I have to do this. This is like all of those other opportunities are leading me to this.
Yeah.
This is why I was put on this earth.
It's like the
Was
missing piece. You
Yeah,
spent so much time on the process and the business, and now here's the passionate purpose.
yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
so my wife and my daughter, who obviously I love eternally, but
Mm.
they had faith in me and moved to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, sight unseen. They had never been here.
Wow.
All the times and years I'd been teaching and guest teaching, they didn't have the opportunity to come with me, so they moved sight unseen because they knew that this is something that I not only, it's not like a job where oh, okay, I got that promotion, or a job where I got this, you know, uh, a nice raise. Like, this is something that is meaningful
Mm.
and goes beyond just a, a cool job in a good setting with a decent
Right.
culture.
Right. It was a gift.
Yeah.
Wow. Where are you taking that gift now? What's next?
What's next is really taking the school and continuing to look deeper and deeper at where we came from and how we got here.
Okay.
The more that we do that, the more that we stay true to this legacy that Marcia gave us, but also the people around it can believe in what they're doing, and
Hmm.
that really is at the center of um, you know how to keep this going beyond Marcia, who unfortunately passed in 2019, but it
Hmm.
goes beyond any one person. And when you talk about planning for succession, and you talk about how to keep a legacy, how to keep the culture, how to keep the marrow of
Yeah.
what makes you exist as an organization, that's it. So you have to always constantly look and look at the philosophy of how you got here. You don't have to always do what you've always done before. I'm not saying that, but carefully make sure that everything changes and the purpose and the reason is rooted in what got you here.
Hmm.
And so what got us here was a beautiful syllabus in ballet that Marcia took, decades to be able to harness and to create dancers, but also within that syllabus, it lives in the teachers. It
Hmm.
lives in us who teach, because the syllabus teaches you there are no shortcuts. Just like in life, if you try and find shortcuts, that's time wasted. You have to just do the work. If you don't like the level that you're placed in, you just do the work to be able to get out of that level. You can get out of the level. You just got to work your way through it without
Hmm.
shortcuts, and just keep your head down and keep at it. And so that's what's kept us going, through many hardships. It's kept us going through, even as generations of kids go through the school, you keep finding the ability to create wonderful dancers, but also great humans.
Yeah.
Humans who are willing to work, humans who are willing to have an ownership of their work and their progress and their place here in life.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned no shortcuts, do the work. I've often heard you say that we're not just teaching ballet.
Hmm.
Besi
Yes.
What else? So besides no shortcuts and do the work, what else do you proclaim that you're teaching these young children?
We're teaching them how to succeed in whatever they choose to pursue.
Mhm,
That is academics.
mhm,
That is whether you want a college education, whether you want to, run your own ballet school someday, whether you want to be a podiatrist or a veterinarian or anything. If you
right.
want to be a truck driver, you're going to be the best truck driver. You know what I mean? It's about pursuing excellence. And when you do that,
Mhm,
you you find what you love,
mhm.
and you do it, and you pursue excellence.
Yeah.
And so that will make you fulfilled in life. But you have to find that, and through, it's always the word through ballet.
Through, yes.
You find those directions in life and those opportunities in
Mm,
life to be able to find your own personal success.
mm. What would you say is an undervalued leadership skill that you have focused on or that other leaders maybe listening could or should focus on?
Undervalued is that's a good question. I've only, I think, recently learned this, and that is the ability to. I've always listened, but I've always started to help guide people by either being the first to talk
Mhm,
and have them understand what whether the priority or anything is. It's stopping for a second and listening
mhm.
and letting other people speak first, so that you can then speak to understand rather than speak to direct.
Yes.
And that is something that I'm working hard at on a daily basis, because as a teacher, you're just supposed to, you're saying what the corrections are. You're saying you're the one guiding all the time. So outside of the
Right.
studio, I have to practice just as hard as I did with my technique. Is I have to practice that a lot, because that will give people the freedom to for them to be vulnerable,
Mhm.
and for them to be able to not be afraid to express an opinion, um, right, wrong, or indifferent. It just allows them to grow as well, rather than it just being an org chart and everybody's just looking up, going, "Hey, what
Right.
do you want? What do you want? Say what you want, and I'll do it." That's not going to continue the ability for CPYB as an organization to not necessarily to grow, but also to be better, to
Mhm.
be more efficient, to be more productive, to pursue excellence, just like we're asking kids to pursue excellence.
Right, right. That excellence. Well, it's interesting to hear you say, I have to take off the teacher hat when I'm trying to be in that leader position.
Mhm.
So there's a real distinction in your mind, between those 2 things.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because as a teacher, I think of it as a filter.
Mhm,
You're always looking for what can be better and what can be improved upon, but it's up to you. It's you and your eyes and your ideas of, how am I going to take them in 90 minutes? How can I take a student from here to here, and from point A to point B? And it is up to you to guide that entire process, class by class, student by student. And as a leader, you need everyone to come along with you, but they need some ownership and vulnerability in the game too, because if it's only you, then you're going to get people who are going to get left behind, and
Right.
that's not efficient.
Right. Right. What would you say has been your greatest mistake as a leader?
My greatest mistake as a leader, I think, especially at the beginning, as I was starting this role as a CEO, was assuming that everybody's looking to you for the answer, the right answer.
Mm,
In ballet, you're trying to make something perfect, knowing that perfection is not attainable. So you're pursuing something that is unreachable.
mhm,
And when you have that mentality, you step into a CEO role, and you if you keep that mentality, it's like you're going to make a mistake. So that's not, that's not the end of the world. And so you have to learn that, pursue the right answer, but not everybody's looking to you for that perfect answer every single time. The right answer and progress lies with many people,
mhm.
and listening to many people. And when I do that now, I find a greater rate of success.
So if I'm hearing you right, when you were first in the role, you felt the answers had to come from you and they had to be correct. And
Yes.
now you see, the answers are probably somewhere in this room and they're probably not with me. But
Yes.
I have to evoke them. I have to pull them out. I have to create the space here in this room for everyone to feel comfortable to share so that we can get to the right answer.
Yes. Yep. And
Yeah.
that takes time. That takes time
Yeah.
to form a leadership group, and it takes time for people to feel comfortable. It takes time for even different personalities to hear things the same way, and
Hmm.
everything like that. So it's a constant work in progress. But that's why I love ballet, because it is, you're pursuing perfection, knowing that it's unreachable. And
Hmm.
every day, just like you put your hand on the bar as a dancer, you're trying to improve in small increments.
Hmm. What keeps you coming back? Because that sounds, as you say, I'm pursuing excellence, or I'm pursuing excellence. I'm trying to get to perfection, and it's not attainable. That sounds exhausting. So what keeps you coming back? What brings these teachers back and these students back every day to keep doing something that's impossible?
Because it's beautiful.
Mm,
It's simply beautiful. When I see kids, and I see kids who generally, they didn't have the best body, or they didn't have the best opportunities or anything like that, and you can make them dancers. To be able to see how that changes someone's life, to see them come from someone who wanted to work hard but didn't really know what hard work was, to
mhm.
then have a career in ballet and then pursue other things, um, and be successful in their life. And they say, and you hear these kids say, I didn't know that I was going to have a life like this.
Wow.
That keeps you going. That is
Whoa.
work worth doing. And it's in our vision, changing lives through dance. And yes,
Mm,
your organization needs to have a vision, but when you actually carry it out over a
mm.
multi-year span, you realize it's worth it. And the kids realize it's worth it. And the organization then knows it's worth it. And yes, you have to be stubborn. And I talk about that in class.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to be very stubborn. Now you have to use your stubbornness for your, you know, for good. You can't use it just to be stubborn. You have to use your stubbornness to say, no, I'm going to continue to pursue this. I'm going to be so persistent that I'm going to exceed my expectations.
Mhm.
And it does. It takes every day. You just have to do it every day. You got to get up every day. You've got to, uh, I have never really liked the saying, showing up is half the work or half the battle or whatever people say. That's not that's not. If you're thinking about showing up being half of the work to do it, you're never going to get anywhere. You
Mm.
you have to be passionate about pursuing this, and it will change your life. It really will.
Wow. I don't know. That would make me show up if that's what you're seeing every day in the
Mhm.
classrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's nice because people will walk in the building and they'll say, I love this place. I love, being able to come here and teach, or I love being able to come here and see what happens
Yeah.
in these walls, because it's alive. It goes
Mhm.
beyond all of us. And that's what Marcia gave us. And if
Yeah.
we forget how lucky we are to be able to be here and doing this, then that's the day we need to kind of hang it up and say, like, all
Yeah.
right, let's
Yeah.
let's let's make a change.
Yeah. It resonates for me what you're saying earlier in my career, working with individuals with disabilities. It's not just a job. When you're showing up and you're changing lives, when you're taking someone from not talking to talking, not walking to walking, not feeding themselves to feeding themselves. I mean, these are life-changing things. And it just sounds so similar to the experiences that you're having when they're saying, I didn't think I could have a life like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's profound.
Yes. Yeah.
It's generative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they come back and tell us, our Discover Dates
Mm.
coordinator, Wayne, he came here, he worked for 2 years. He was in the first class of our two-year men's scholarship, and he's now back working with us because he gets it. He understands what has given him the opportunity to dance, but also give back. And now
Yeah.
he's here again giving back, and he has a career in something
Mm.
that he believes in.
Dance.
Doesn't get
Yeah.
better than.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. So I understand you were away for a couple days, maybe even a week, right? Dealing with some health things. And what I'm curious about for individuals listening is I've often run into leaders where it's hard for them to even leave a day, right? Where we experience Vistage, getting people to come for a day can be really hard, right? A day out of the office. You were out for maybe a week, right? And after talking with you, you said it was great,
Yeah.
right? Everyone did great. You did great. No fire. So, what is your advice to those leaders out there that struggle to turn off the phone, to disconnect the email? This is a real challenge, I think, today that a lot of leaders are faced with. And so when I find somebody that's really doing it well, I think it's a responsibility to share some of those practices.
Yeah. I particularly in our leadership team, if you are not fully committed, you just weed yourself out. and
Mhm.
and we have a leadership team who's fully committed to the legacy of this place, and I'm committed to them. I believe in them. I do not you know doubt any of their work. And it's taken a lot of trust, a lot of
Mhm.
honest conversations, a lot of me just kind of stepping back and say, like, you know um, I, I want us to all work together. I want us to all, there
Mhm.
I want us to all, continue to progress together. And you should be here. I should be here. We should all be here working together. And when you do that over a course of years, and you continue to just want the same things, maybe we disagree on how to get there, but we agree that we want uh, we want the best for this place. Then you're able to say, okay, I can walk away. You can walk away. We
Right.
can all cover
Right.
for each other, because at the end of the day, even if someone didn't do or handle something the exact way I would have, well, their intent, you got to come back to their intent, and
Mm.
their intent is
Mhm.
always for the best of the, best for CPYB.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes from a personal connection, building those
Hmm.
relationships with each other
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. I just want to highlight that because I think there's a lot of people struggling with that, and you seem to do that really well.
I don't know if I do it well. I think this last time was necessary, and they knew that. So
Yeah.
they were obviously willing to drop whatever they needed to help me out, and that was not only appreciated, but also very real. And that's what
Mm.
CPYB really is also.
Mm.
There's not this facade, or there's not this um, uh, people talk about values and culture, put it on the wall and then
Sure,
leave
sure.
it there, or use it as a weapon. Oh,
Mm,
that wasn't that, or that wasn't very,
right,
inclusive,
right.
or that wasn't this.
Yes.
It's like,
You can
no.
use it for good. You can use it
Yeah.
for evil.
Yeah. And so,
Yes.
no, it's very
Yeah.
real. And if we're not doing it, we need to check ourselves.
Hmm. So there's a high level of accountability as well
I
on
think
the
so.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outstanding. Well, Nick, this has been as close to magic as I'm going to get today.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but this
That's
was amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate this amazing conversation. And I want to highlight at least three things that I'm taking away, and our listeners are probably taking away more of. One, I heard early on that following the spirit of curiosity, you're going to find a way to stay close to what you're passionate about. You
yes.
stuck to ballet by being curious about what other aspects there are of ballet, and you get to stay in a place where you're happy, right? A business and an industry that you're happy in. And that's, I think, amazing for you, your family, and CPYB. Two, you taught us that by teaching others, you improve your own self-awareness with
Yes.
whatever you're doing. So again, through ballet, you taught yourself and others something else. So many levels of lessons here. And three, I really took away this powerful purpose. You said we're always going back and going deeper to what Marcia left us, and that power of a true North Star for a company and how they can continue to reap benefits for their current day's crisis or challenge by going back to that North Star. Why do we exist? What are we here for? Just so powerful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and it's something that we all truly believe in. So it's
Yeah.
makes it worth it.
Well, it's beautiful and it's so, so beautifully evident. So thank you so much, Nick. Pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Take care.
You too.
For more information about Nick and the Central Penn Youth Ballet, you can visit cpyb.org or find Central Penn Youth Ballet on all of your social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you can find them. cpyb.org. Thank you for joining me today for another great hustle conversation with the Central PA executive. You can find out more about my guest in the show notes. And if you liked the episode or have something to add to our conversation, please find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Subscribe, rate, and review. Remember, leadership is best practiced in community. You know a leader who needs to hear something from this episode, so pay it forward and send it to them today. Don't wait. Until next time, the best leaders not only lead well, they live well and learn well. Bye now.